Good afternoon. As the restrictions and safety guidelines that have been imposed upon us during the COVID-19 epidemic, as those are being lifted, we thought this might be a really propitious time for us to have some direct communication with our church family rather than just some bullet points on a Friday afternoon. And I have to say at the beginning here that one of the unique paradoxes of the pandemic was that while it kept us at times from engaging one another face to face, for many of us, it brought us face to face with ourselves. Call it sifting, call it shifting, call it refining, but God was at work in us. God was at work in the church. In 1 Peter 4:17, it says, let judgment begin with the family of God. When God wants to do a new work, He starts with us first. He begins with us. And I think even though the pandemic concealed the church in some ways, I think it revealed a lot about the true condition of the church in North America and the status of our hearts. And for many people, it brought a broken and contrite heart before the Lord, which is a beautiful thing. Now, along the way, the elders had to plan and pivot. How do we continue to worship the living God? But how do we also safeguard this church family that we love so dearly? Now, the elders aren't a bunch of authoritarian ogres in the back room handing down decisions. We're just five men trying to shepherd the flock, trying to make wise decisions. How do we keep this church family well during something none of us have ever been through before? And along the line, we decided early on that we wouldn't try to be experts, so we followed the safety guidelines, the executive orders of Virginia, which mostly mirrored the CDC. And if we were going to err in our decision making, we early on said we would err on the side of being conservative rather than being libertarian. Now, hindsight's 2020. We probably made some decisions that in hindsight now we would say we would do that different. And we know that many of you disagreed with us, or at least disagreed with some of those decisions, and we're sorry. We're sorry that maybe we weren't better listeners and that we could have done a better job of listening and engaging your input. We always want to be elders that do receive and listen to your input well. We're mostly sorry, though, that we actually have lost some people, and they weren't just numbers or attendance or giving units. They were real people with real names with whom we have had real fellowship, and we are really going to miss them now. It needs to also be said that along the way we are very grateful for all of those who hung with us and stayed committed and involved and volunteering, especially those who we knew had contrary opinions. Your example of commitment inspires the rest of us. So as the emergency order is lifted by the governor, the worst thing that we could do right now would be to think about getting back to normal. I pray that we would encourage one another to come back to being the church and not just simply returning the church. Pray that we would continue to encourage each other to lay aside some of those easy comforts that we all fell into during sheltering in place and learn again how to be the church and how to serve and witness to the gospel in this valley. Now, the COVID pandemic may be slipping into our rearview mirror, we hope, but we still live in very perilous times. There still are a lot of other deadly viruses out there that threaten the well-being and I would say the very fabric of our society. We, according to Philippians 2, we are to shine brightly like lights in the darkness in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation. We're supposed to hold out the word of life to people. That's what we need to be doing as we come back together. I pray that we will. And to do that well, we need everybody. We need everybody now more than ever. So I hope we will continue to worship together the living God. Thank you.